We are back with another game here. Weebs versus Bottom in the Bottom. I'm actually not too sure what the standings of these two teams are. I believe they've both played a series apiece. If I remember correctly, Bottom in the Bottom lost 2-0. And I am absolutely unsure of that. But in any case, we do have a game here. Let's hope we don't have as many disconnects here. But I don't really know who I'm supposed to be praying to at this point. The gods of the internet feel merciful. You know they haven't been merciful today. We hope they be merciful at this point. But thankfully we do have a fairly fast draft to start us off. 3 strength heroes being banned off right from the bat here by Weebs.
10 seconds remaining.
Undying Sven, as well as Night Stalker.
5 seconds remaining.
All of these fairly strong early mid sort of heroes perhaps fall off a little bit later on. And Weebs start out with the Bane actually, and the auto pickup in return. Know that there's no Night Stalker, might as well take attack. But you know what, Call doesn't even that much about A these days. Still a fairly strong team fighter, of course, did get slightly nerfed with the refresher, no longer work. That was a fairly obnoxious build when you rush the refresher, making use of your ability to farm fairly fast. So yeah, I'm glad that's not the game. And Lifestealer, our first time seeing it today, due to it being banned quite a lot. They have, of course, picked Lifestealer into the Bane, who has some of the best single target BKB piercing control.
10 seconds remaining.
But evidently, Bottom and Bottom are not too worried about that. They do have the Keeper of the Light, who can interrupt channel from somewhat of a distance. And we'll see what else Weebs choose to pick here. I am at this point supposed to be familiar with both teams, but for better or worse, I am not. I'm not too familiar with what they play, and that is a Darkseer pick into the Lifestealer, which is another interesting choice. Lifestealer has that natural sustain, and lane generally doesn't mind the Ion Shell all that much, but at the same time, the Surge is great against Lifestealer. Not to mention good at getting out of Keeper of the Light's ultimate as well. You do have that 50 little talent at level 20 that allows you to AoE Surge. So while the Ion Shell probably not going to be too useful, the Surge really is great here, and it goes pretty well with the Bane too. Get him that extra little movement speed, catch that out of position whoever. Weebs here, they take out the next assassin. Very nasty hero to play Darkseer against. That's perfectly understandable. And fairly good at interrupting Bane channels and whatnot as well. But perhaps more importantly, it does open up a number of mid picks that would be very hard countered. OD comes to mind. Not that you perhaps want to pick the OD against the Lifestealer. Not terrible, not great. Bottom in the Bottom. Take out the Razor, which is classic counter to Lifestealer, so that is perfectly understandable there. And they take out the Pango as well. Fairly strong in general. Also not bad against the Coddle, seeing as you are not affected by the Will-o'-the-Wisp. At least not while you're in the ball.
10 seconds remaining. Radiant team
Bottom and bottom. Gonna go for the Tusk here. Very nice combo with that Life Stealer. And again, more ways to interrupt the Bane ultimate, sort of from a range, and at the very least you can save people in that snowball. Not to mention, a little bit of control can always be useful against the Darkseer.
10 seconds remaining. Dire team pick.
And what do we have here? We have a Magnus. Did see a support Magnus in that last game. Didn't exactly have the most overwhelming game in terms of RPs, but that Empower is always useful. And now you do have the Magnus Darkseer duo, which on one hand is a very impressive team fight in its own way.
5 seconds.
Either the RP into the vacuum or the other way around works. So great team fight coming out from Weebs, but you also have a very potent duo when it comes to buffing a melee carry, and this is perhaps the more, well, not important, but a very strong point, if somewhat subtle. And there's a whole bunch of heroes that you can match this up with, and a lot of them have not been banned out yet. The Juggernaut, fairly obvious choice. Ember Spirit, perhaps. You've got your PA in there as well. I do like this pick from bottom in the bottom, actually. You have the Beastmaster, almost a one-size-fits-all solution to any sort of hyper carry. You just press R, BKB or not. And that guy is going to be stunned, so it does sort of break the flow of the Weebs lineup.
Remaining.
So I do like the Beastmaster, actually. Not to mention all the vision that you have.
Remaining.
I want to say goes quite well against the Bane, against the Magnus, against the Darkseer. These kind of heroes who have got great initiation, sort of as long as it's not, you know, starting from a place that you can see them. So I do like the Beastmaster pick up quite a lot, actually. And there is some sort of natural synergy between the Inner Beast and Tusk's tag team. And look, that's something that's activated on attack and, well, bonus attack speed. Again, do have to point out 3 strength heroes. Timbersaw still in the pool. But that can be an interesting matchup sometimes against heroes like the Beastmaster. You do have that mana burning ability. Thankfully, Keeper of the Light no longer has that, but can be interesting. Again, it's also a bit strange to go for the Timbersaw. You could put it mid, but yeah. So it is the Juggernaut. They definitely have to think about that for a second. I feel like most of that was due to the Beastmaster. Generally speaking, you don't want to pick Juggernaut into the Beastmaster. He can control you through that spin, but it just goes really well to Magnus and Darkseer. That's all I can say. Now the Oracle is of course banned out, and that is somewhat evident given the first pick Bane and how strong Oracle is at the moment. Otherwise the Oracle would be a very nifty solution against this Beastmaster, but were it still in the pool, bottom in the bottom, probably would have picked it up against that first pick Bane anyway.
5 seconds remaining. Radiant team pick.
And now the Conker ban. We have from Weebs, which means they are absolutely not going to pick that Timbersaw. I was gonna say, I wouldn't have minded the Conker pick for themselves. Again, goes great with Magnus and the Darkseer.
10 seconds
Pretty good
remaining.
setup with Bane as well, to sleep into the Torrent and a whole bunch of
5
other
seconds
things.
remaining.
Not to mention, great team fight on top of the Magnus ulti. You should drop the both on top of that and not really go wrong. And not a bad solution against the Beastmaster either, just a defensive buff coming out there from the boat. But of course, Weebs, they haven't picked it. I guess perhaps they don't have a Kunkka player. And that is the Invoker there. Another hero who goes well with the Juggernaut, actually. Put that Lacry on that guy and he goes for an Omni/Will of Empower while he's got Island Shell on him. That is a whole bunch of damage. Does go pretty well with the Bane too. Lots of reliable setups. And a very impressive team fight, but that is a last pick Huskar there from POTM in the bottom. So that is actually 4 turn Furious plus a Coddle. This is a pretty, I guess, aggressive lineup, is perhaps the word, coming out from POTM in the bottom. You know, Huskar, Brave run at you, Lifestealer run at you, Tusk run at you. Beastmaster, maybe not so much run at heroes, but you run at towers, you control vision. All in all, a very domineering lineup coming out from POTM in the bottom. Whereas Weebs, you know, we're looking more on the scaling side. You've got Juggernaut, Invoker. We've talked about how buffed up this Juggernaut can be, but you've also got great teamfight potential in Weebs. So I feel like there's going to be a pretty clear narrative this entire game. Whether or not Weebs can, I guess, not get destroyed, or whether POTM and bottom will destroy them, or at least get a far enough lead that Weebs will struggle. And it does appear this is going to be a support Magnus, and we have seen sometimes in the last series that we were following how Magnuses can struggle a lot if they fall behind. And sure, you can accelerate the farm of this Juggernaut. Sure, you know, RP is always going to be useful, but RP without that Blink Dagger isn't quite the same. And we're talking about how these POTM in the bottom heroes, they really need you to kill them. You don't just casually kill a Lifestealer. You don't just casually kill a Huskar. You have to put in a lot of effort. And if that one key piece of that RP is not there when it has to be there, I do not fancy Weeb's chances in a team. But here we go. As the finger is crossed, there is a 50% chance right now, statistically speaking, that there's a pause right as this game starts. And there is no pause right as this game starts. We are off to a good start, boys. Looking good indeed. So, straight into our lanes. Nothing too funny here. Lifestealer starting with that Quelling Blade, actually. That is a big either I don't know what I'm doing or I don't give a fuck. Because generally start with that Stout Shield, but oh no, he's already cutting trees. You planning on juggling or something? In any case, it is going to be a Darkseer that he's up against. And I mean, I'm going to say this again. Generally speaking, you don't start with the Stout Shield, but against the Darkseer especially, because he's going to be pushing in constantly. Having that ability to tank creeps does make quite a big difference. Not to mention, when you have good sustain and that beast, that actually increases the value of each HP. No, sorry. That actually increases the value of things which buff each HP point, such as damage mitigation. But I think I've said as much as I can on that. We have a bit of a situation down here. Bane, level 1 sleep. Can't quite find anybody. But his presence does mean that there is only one person, as in this Darkseer, who will actually get blown away by the blinding light. So that is a 2-for-2 trade there. Does cost our Keeper of the Light a little bit of health, but he is definitely more than happy to do that. And I'm actually going to be quite interested in to see how this Keeper of the Light goes about playing this lane. I feel like it might actually just be more productive for him to go stack camps, or perhaps even go farm them himself with that Illuminate. For now, just getting the right clicks in on this Darkseer, who, by the way, did not pre-cast a Iron Shell. But he's doing fine in terms of last hits, but this is that push that we're talking about, then having a Stout Shield really does help with this kind of thing. And here we go, Obnoxious lane starts now. Bottom lane do have a dual lane, but I really don't see what they can do against this tri-lane. And sort of in terms of the lane presence, it's not too strong without the Bane taking that Brain Sap actually hold that foot? Nope, don't hold anything as... Or maybe we do hold something? This is a bit of a strange fight. Very strange fight, actually, and, that is... He did try there. Very, 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 very strange. And yeah, he is just giving up on life in this bottom lane. He's just gonna go try and grief this Darkseer as much as possible, but Darkseer is one of those heroes that either you destroy him in lane, or he just does absolute fine, and I'm gonna lean on the absolutely fine for him this game, even against the tri-lane. Now, this bottom lane is something that you absolutely do not want to be in if you are someone who does not have reliable escapes, such as this Beastmaster. You get put to sleep, then you get skewered back into a Blade Fury. Not a good place to be, and when you're someone like a Beastmaster who can jungle, being in the jungle is generally a better choice. But, well. Wow. Does feel like I'm back in 2017 now, when Iron Talon was a thing. Hard lane, just go jungle. And that's actually what we see on the other side too. Hard lane, just go jungle. Should be able to get the stack here, and Darkseer, one of the best heroes at clearing stacks early on due to the fact that you don't actually have to take damage. And we are seeing that mirrored movement here in the position 4. Running in to try and make life hell for the enemy offlaner, and he places down a ward, which I believe actually does not, okay, it does not block. The Darkseer, level 2, not the best farming ability, but still not terrible. And he is actually going to get hit up here by the stuns, as well as the constant slows. Still has the surge, but does not want to use that now. He's actually going to go back in for the farm here. This could be a very big mistake. And it almost ended up being a fatal mistake there. Definitely does not want to give up the stack, but I feel like could have gotten away without touching it at all. Cavalry is here, however, and it is in the form of this Bane. There is a Magnus, but where are you going to skewer Snowball onto the mud columns here? Where are you going to go, Mr. Tusk? Pulled back in by the Shockwave. Invoker is making the rotation, as well as is that Sunstrike. Centaur is going to stomp here, but or not, because that is a dead Lelouch yet again, accounting for 66% of all deaths. Who else died? Huskar died, actually. Did not catch that, but Huskar dying to Invoker is not something I expected, given that Huskar is generally considered the lane dominator. 3 points in the Burning Spears, 2 points in that Berserker's Blood. He is not going to die at all from this point on, I believe. At least not before this Invoker dies. That being said, if he does get slept and skewered, does potentially die. Sunstrike is one of the better ways to take out a Huskar. Just burst him down while he's low health. Of course, bottom lane, Juggernaut has had an average of 0 people in his lane up until this point, so he is going to be enjoying that. Top of CS, likewise, Lifestealer doing fine, going for the Midas, as you do these days. Maxing out that Beast, not normally something you do, but against the Darkseer, why the hell not? I do want to point out, it's not like this Darkseer is going to have a bad time. You know, I can see already he's having much better time than this Beastmaster, who's being constantly griefed, and actually, this griefing might just backfire onto Blaze here. Does not have enough mana for the Brain Sap, otherwise he'd be able to take out Lelouch. And here comes the Magnus, with the Skewer, with the Shockwave, and that is the tip. Can he get out of here? The Boars, they do have the constant slow, but you don't really have much more than that, and there is actually a Juggernaut who is level 6, mind you. This could be a very bad ending for... oh, spoke too soon. That was a very premature Omni Slash. He might just get this kill anyway due to the fact that this call ult does not have anything. And well, that's a double kill, premature or not. And that's going to be a decent chunk of damage as well, actually. Although we're not done yet. No, we are done. This Beastmaster does have boots, unlike our Keeper of the Light. He does finally have his boots now, but would have certainly liked to have them against this Juggernaut. And is he going to tank the tower here? No. Is he? Okay, tanked it enough to keep that siege creep alive, so as you're saying, gonna be a fair amount of damage. It is important to note, of course, that Mr. Mordecai is not just doing well on the last hits, but the denies too, and these days that does offer a fair bit of extra gold, so even though he's actually behind in terms of last hits and we're missing kills all over, dear lord, I should pay more attention. Well, mid lane, that is another death on this Huskar, and no revenge for him as he was just a step too late on that snowball. But, anyway, good game to be a Juggernaut. I really do have to say, I like the fact that the Weebs supports are being super active here, and we might just see that yet again. Will they actually go for the kill here? Will Juggernaut rotate? Juggernaut does rotate. And this could be some kill potential if they play their cards right. And that is the sleep out here onto the Beastmaster, and now the spin follow. That is so much damage at this stage in the game. Level 7. 8 minutes in. Actually missed microing a little bit. They do finally get the kill, but I feel like they could have done that much easier. Although Mordecai, I mean, this is the dream start as a Juggernaut. There's no other way to put it. You're on a killing spree, you have uninterrupted farm, and now you have an Omni Slash that actually jumps to the creeps. It is only a level 1 in power, so not all that ridiculous at the moment. That is actually the second Omni Slash that has somewhat misfired, I would argue. And our Huskar does not want to let this Juggernaut go on a rampage any longer. Has rotated down. He's not actually going to find the engagement that he wants, instead just going to settle for this minor sized stack. He is losing a lot of health here, and one more Sunstrike would actually take him out. 4 heroes down here, but our Juggernaut is not afraid. No roar on our Beastmaster, so pretty much no way to kill him as long as he has that spin. The fact that there's so much attention down bottom does mean that our Darkseer is able to get some levels, and this is great. In terms of net worth, he's actually even ahead of... Dear lord, I did not realize how bad this mid lane was. And I guess that is mostly just down to the deaths in terms of last hits. It's really not that big of a deal, but net worth-wise, our Darkseer is actually ahead of this Huskar. But yeah, it's hard to have a bad Darkseer game as long as you don't get absolutely destroyed. And hold that full 10-minute runes coming up. There is a sleep on Blaze. Doesn't actually want to use it though. Although Mordecai did seem to want to go for something. Maybe some miscommunication, maybe some hesitation, lack of confidence, something along those lines. Darkseer gonna pick up runes. This is as good of a start as you can get, I feel. Reasonably speaking, but this is the same for this Lifesteal as well as our Juggernaut. We'll see who actually scales better. Hand of Midas on the Lifesteal going straight into that Radiance. Bit of a trade mid. Will Invoker actually go down? It's going to be close, that class regen. Just helping him as more kills happening all over. Jesus, we're at 10 kills, and actually we're not done yet. An Omni Slash, and this time it is good. It is going to give a dominating spree to Mordecai, who did go for a very cost-effective sort of early fighting build. Going for the Yasha after the drums. Beastmaster TP's in. Again, no roar. hasn't been able to stay in lane at all, and when he has, it's sharing a lane with other people. Very stark contrast to our Darkseer, who has been raking in the levels. Now again, Huskar gonna make the rotation, but you have to really try to find the right connection, and it's just not happening so far. Going under the tower, is this the solution? Sure, there's no Omni Slash, so you're not too worried about dying, but I'm not sure how effective this is going to be. Instead, they're going to settle for pressuring the tower a little bit, but again, no roar. Well, they're just going to go for it. They're going to jump onto this tower, and this is going to be a pretty dead Magnus, I feel. Snowball following him through even after that skewer, but here comes the rest of this team. Juggernaut, no Omni Slash again, has to be careful. Zoning away the enemies here for his support and actually getting onto Lelouch here. Has the movement speed with the drums, with the face boots, with the Yasha, and he is going to run that guy down, get another kill, which is now a mega kill. Can he actually take out this Huskar though? They have no Nightmare on this Bane. Sunstrike actually going to miss, which means no kill found there. Huskar just going to regenerate. Slayer is left behind, and with a little bit of micro, is going to go down. Even more kills. That was the full 4-man rotation coming down bottom, however. But it's not like there was a Huskar sitting mid to take farm. Instead, he's gonna very precariously farm against these. Okay, he's fine. And I suppose you don't mind this Life Stealer having free farm too much, seeing as he was having free farm anyway. I guess the big winner after all of that is this Invoker, who is actually third in net worth and is around 1,000 gold away from having a very early Aghanim Scepter. Could have definitely gone for the Hand of Midas, but I suppose just wants to take the fights early. You can see that in this Darkseer's rotations as well, getting that early Helmet Dominator, just wants to go and wants to get fights. So, and yeah, I mean, even the build coming out from the Juggernaut, very cost-effective items, not going for the Battle Fury. He does have the Magnus for that anyway. Snowball comes out here onto the Darkseer, but completely whiffs. It's one of the nice things about this Darkseer. And that Surge is going to be a very powerful ability this game for a lot of reasons. It's also about the run at you lineup that POTM in the bottom has, and that is pretty much directly countered by Surge. Top tower gonna go down quite early on. Juggernaut with drums, pretty good at pushing, as is the Helm of Dominator. And of course we have another pulse. Let's hope this doesn't become too much of a habit. We are, I believe, seconds away from seeing a leap onto this Invoker, which almost certainly means that he is dead. He does have Ghost Walk invoked already. Is there dust? There is dust. And there's also very unfortunate range creep here, which I believe will let Lelouch get in range regardless of whether or not the Ghost Walk pops. And we're back! Obviously, it would be very, very bad for Desert, I guess, to die here, seeing as he is literally 50 gold away from his Aghanim Scepter. Be very unfortunate.
You're so nice.
Alright, here we go. Ghost Walk finally gonna pop there. Will they still go for this kill? Looks like they're gonna try. And I cannot blame them. Nice tornado though, but an RP onto 2. There is thankfully that combo breaker with the Will of the Wisp, and with that it looks like this RP won't do all that much. Magnus certainly gonna burn down here and they will get him, but off in the jungle, a huge kill there. They take down... Oh no, we're not done. Oh god, look at this combo. This is absolutely disgusting. Oh god. The Ion Shell with the spin. I mean, this is... Come on, guys. This isn't even funny at this point. Although, here comes the Huskar. But again, double Ion Shell, easy Rampage. Easy Rampage. And, I was talking about... I actually favored POTM in the bottom lineup early on, and... I'll see Weebs have a better scaling lineup. Well, that is technically still the case, but I believe this game is what we call over. And a lot of the struggles of Weebs hypothetically revolve around this Magnus not getting a good start, falling behind, but when your team's able to run around, take towers like this, that is never really an issue. Juggernaut, super farm, super strong, as we were saying, multiple buffs on him, and he is absolutely running away with this game. Darkseer actually getting caught out here. This time he will get trapped in those ice shards, and he should go down here. Much needed kill, sort of breaking the pace of Weebs. Of course, our one saving grace here is this Lifestealer, and the fact that he did have a pretty good start early on, but as you can see now, kind of struggling to find that farm now that this Juggernaut is so able to put this pressure on him, finding that kill earlier, but you know, he goes wherever this Lifestealer goes, and Lifestealer won't be able to find that much farm. Blaze has the Invis rune, and looks like they want to get going onto this Huskar. So much damage, all that pure damage coming out, and they still have the grip to go for this Lifestealer, and that's one of the problems. You have the rage, sure, but you're also dead. RP interrupted there by the sleep, interestingly enough, and again, the combo breaker with the Will of the Wisp, but they take it down nice and fast, and now there is nothing stopping the way of what looks to be another team wipe. Slayer gonna try and TP out of there. Looks like he'll actually be successful. Tornado half a second too late, but this is a pretty one-sided game, as it turns out to be. At this rate, we might actually be finished with this series before the other, which was supposed to have started a whole 2 hours earlier, but enough of that. For POTM in the bottom, sure, they have some creep clear in this Illuminate, but it's not actually high level. It's only level 1 there. So really not too effective at stopping what apparently is a game-ending push here. It's not very often you see a Huskar lineup losing racks at 18 minutes, but that does indeed appear to be the case. Alacrity on this Juggernaut, Ion Shell on him, Empower on him. You do not want to mess with this guy. Oh, trust me, you do not want to mess with this guy, even under your tier 4s. Look at that damage. Well, he actually hasn't managed to find a single kill just yet, but that's not going to be for very long. And, yeah. This is, dismantling, I believe, is the closest term. I dare say this game is, next to over. And the push just does not stop. And why would it stop anyway? They have a healing ward. Would be nice if they could snipe it with the boar, but the boar's already dead, and look at that alacrity with the Empower. My oh my. Raxes need chopping. There is, of course, a Lifestealer farming the whole time, but having died that one time and having so much space denied to him, it's not looking great. And there was a kill there, I'm not too sure it matters all that much. Was on the Coddle, who did bite back, which does mean that he will not be able to bite back, but looks like Weebs are done here. I actually see the pings coming out as to roughly where this Lifestealer was, and they know that he is the only way that POTM in the bottom can come back, and I do not like this. It has the rage, sure, but there's a grip, there's an RP. Looks like Sujon will be fine though. as they went for the shrine instead. Bill needs the recipe money for that radiance. Can he actually find it? Although honestly, even if he does get the radiance, I'm not sure it will be that useful, seeing as there is a Darkseer on the enemy team who can just turn that against him.
So nice.
Roshan is started and is dead. There's not many things last very long against this super Juggernaut. A Juggernaut in the most literal sense. And this is a very nice combo, in all fairness. Highly cost-effective items. Every single item that this Juggernaut has picked up is pretty much the most cost-effective item that you can ever get for world DPS, as well as movement speed. And then you throw a couple of buffs on him and you have a absolute killing machine. Invoker, being extremely far ahead. Just trying to get the pickoffs.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
At this point in time, is the best person on his team. No blink daggers or anything on anyone else, so him being in this position does help actually scouting things out using that Sunstrike, which is nice. Definitely don't see people doing it enough. Spin comes out with the alacrity, and well, that is an Omni-Shast. That is literally free-shotting, or even two-shotting this Kotl, and 4 or 5-shotting this, yeah, that's GG. Well, we might just see another couple more kills here, or not, but that was a game. That was a game. See, Weebs take that one. And quite convincingly. And we are back with game 2 here. Bottom in the bottom versus Weebs. Does appear the other series has ended, so this is the only game going on right now for ATDL. Weebs took game 1 in fairly convincing fashion in just over 20 minutes. Let's hope bottom in the bottom put up a better fight for their own sake.
10 seconds remaining.
I do feel like while that game appeared to be fairly one-sided, perhaps wasn't too far from having the scales tip the other way. Lifestealer was having a great game. Honestly, I feel like a large part of it does come down to the fact that this Huskar mid did not do too well, and a lot of his attempts at rotations did not end up well either. As generally speaking, you are counting on that Huskar to actually be the one to, I guess, dictate the pace of the game early on is the best way to put it. Definitely expect them to be able to fight early on and not die instantly to an Omni Slash. But here we are in game 2, and Weebs are actually disconnected. Sounds about right. We're back again. I believe there was something wrong with the ticket or settings. I don't think that was actually marked as a best of 3. Could you see that before? But no worries, I'm sure we'll get this set up in no time. I'm sure. There's perhaps more wishful thinking than anything else at this point. Had a whole bunch of delays and pauses and whatnot today. And look at that. Amazing. Amazing. We're actually going to be able to start this game. Hopefully with no pauses. Hopefully. What was that, indeed? Alright. Game 2 for real this time, hopefully. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Radiant team back.
Alright. Lightning fast bans here. Exactly the same bans coming out from Seaweed so far. I believe for bottom in the bottom as well. Alright, Tiny actually gets taken out this time round. And we have the Bounty Hunter, who was banned first phase last time, who actually makes it through this time. It's been quite consistently banned, and now we finally get to see him. Fairly interesting hero these days. Very different playstyle to a while ago, when he was pretty much exclusively played as an awkward position 4. Whose biggest game contribution was usually sniping couriers level 1. See Weebs start off with the Bane again, as they did last time round. Do they pick up the Magnus here as well? I do believe if they do not go for the Magnus, there's a fairly high chance the POTM and the bottom take it for themselves. Actually wouldn't be bad at all for this bounty hunter. That extra bit of damage on the Empower, as well as the Cleave. Okay, Sea Weeps, they go for the Tusk, which POTM and the bottom did pick up in game 1. We do have very strong laning potential now with this Bane and the Tusk. The sleep into something like a Ice Shards that you can place perfectly sounds pretty strong to me. And the Dark Seer. This time for POTM in the bottom. Very, very interesting. Seeing a bit of a role reversal this time, and this isn't sort of the I don't want you taking Dark Seer, so I'll take it myself pick, because they do have a couple more bans, so I guess they just actually wanted this Dark Seer for actually wanting it. We did see how the Dark Seer can be good against the Tusk, being able to pretty much surge your way out of any snowball engagement from a long distance, and does go well with melee cores such as the Bounty Hunter. And Bounty Hunter Darkseer is a very age-old combo. Darkseer plus a lot of melee combinations. We've seen it with the Clockwork, we see it with Ricky. Just being able to stay on a target constantly is great for whoever Darkseer is paired up with. Does, of course, mean that either the Bounty Hunter or the Darkseer is going to have to be played a bit strangely, unless it's a position 1 Bounty Hunter, which I can't say I haven't seen, but I'm not really a fan of. And there is the chance that you could perhaps have the Darkseer maybe grab level 3 in lane and just head off to the jungle, give some EXP to the Bounty Hunter. There are a lot of possibilities. POTM in the bottom, they're actually going to ban out the PA here. Which is interesting. Actually, I don't particularly fancy playing PA against Darkseer. Although I suppose it's not the worst, where you can get last hits with Dagger, but nothing like the Lifestealer that we saw last time round. Lifestealer does not mind playing against the Darkseer at all. Even though you have no kill potential, you can just heal up Anti-Mage. Another hero that we see quite commonly. Speaking of Lifestealer, Lifestealer is available in this game, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see that picked up soon. Now, we saw how the Lifestealer kind of struggles against the Bane sometimes in that last game. Not too many engagements, but 1 or 2 of them where the Fiend's Grip did absolutely destroy Lifestealer, raged or not. So, POTM in the bottom, maybe they won't go for that this time round. We'll see. Again, they do have the Darkseer, does great. We want to point out as well that having the Bounty Hunter does open up some options for, I guess, some not so common these days picks, such as the Tinker perhaps, but that is a Doom pick coming out from Sea Weebs, and that is a very good way to deal with the Darkseer. Not a, I guess, counter that we see all that often, but you can just eat whatever creep is. Iron Shelter, anything really, and just the fact that it gives you so much innate regen right now actually allows you to tank up against the Darkseer just fine. I believe that is the goal here, to be able to put the Doom against the Darkseer lane and at the very least go even. And were it that Weebs had not picked up 2 supports at this point, I would suggest that the Grimstroke is also a possibility. POTM in the bottom, though, they go for the Vengeful Spirit here, and this is starting to remind me somewhat of that last game where you have the Darkseer, on the Magnus. This time it's a Vengeful Spirit and a Darkseer. That's the potential for a fairly buffed up carry is what I'm trying to say. 10 seconds remaining. So, Weebs here. Going to have to pick core. That is how this game works. You know that it's going to be against the Darkseer, but if you put the Doom against him, then you have to start to take some odds as to what the other cores of POTM in the bottom are, and unfortunately for Weebs, they do have to pick first. That is perhaps why they're hesitating here. There is a possibility that they go for some sort of melee core, but against the Darkseer, Vengeful Spirit, even the Bounty Hunter, there's a lot of potential for kiting him around. And, I mean, who else does that really leave? Juggernaut, I suppose, still in the pool. I did see that Juggernaut do a lot of work for Weebs last game. Are they actually going to... And it is the Lifestealer. And instantly in response to that Ursa, and I believe that's exactly the kind of thing that Weebs were wary of, and there's a lot of reasons to not pick a Lifestealer in this game. One of the reasons that you would is that he has a decent match against the Darkseer, so perhaps they were planning on putting him against the Darkseer instead of the Doom, but now they are in a bit of a sticky situation where whoever goes against the Darkseer should have a decent time, but whoever goes against the Ursa might struggle a little bit. And that is the Invoker there for POTM in the bottom, taking a page out of the Weebs book. Weebs, who will they go for? I believe they should have 2 or 3 picks that their mid player is very comfortable playing against the Invoker, and it's really just a matter of picking which of those best fits the bill. Huskar is banned out, as is the Morphling. I believe mid Morphling actually does okay against Invoker, although I'm not too certain on that. Not really mid player, and it is going to be the Windrunner. So that is the kind of hero who can kite an Ursa around and potentially not get chased down by a Bounty Hunter Darkseer combo, so I don't mind this at all. But one thing that is kind of worrying me with this Windrunner pickup is that Weebs are pretty much exclusively single target. Every single one of their heroes is very single target heavy, and the only way to not be single target heavy is if the Lifestealer gets Irradiance, which in all fairness he probably will, but at the same time you're playing against the Darkseer. We kind of discussed that last game as well, so honestly this time around gonna have to give it to POTM in the bottom, and that is just the nature of how this draft developed, having to show the first cores with that Lifestealer just allowed for that Ursa pick, and this is going to be a very problematic Ursa coming out. And I suppose the Bane isn't the worst against the Ursa, but not that hard of counter as we saw the Bane against the Lifestealer last time, so we'll see if that's actually enough for POTM in the bottom to take this game 2, even the series out. For those of you at home who aren't aware, this is fairly early stages of Season 4, this is a largely round robin stage, I believe. I think there might be some exceptions. I'm not too sure. Thankfully, this pause is perhaps due to non-technical issues. Say thankfully, I really mean hopefully, but off knowingly as well. Alrighty! The game! I actually get to cast a game, it's amazing. Hopefully no more poses. Alright. So they are gonna put the Doom against the Ursa, which is certainly better than putting a Lifestealer against an Ursa. On the other hand, I do believe that this Darkseer Bounty Hunter combo has some potential. Possibly not to get kills, but at the very least be very annoying. Force Mordecai here to farm on the tower. We do see Bounty Hunter scouting things out. But on the other side, unsurprisingly, Tusk sort of bullying people around. Fairly good at doing this. Eats a stun here. Does have to be somewhat careful not get caught by this Ursa. Although they are going to go for the engagement here to the tag team. A lot of damage coming out. Tag team is going to expire without the Ursa dying, but there's a fair chunk of damage as well as regen forced from this Ursa, so that's going to be the end of that. But unfortunately for them, the trade-off is this Lifestealer who opted not to take damage and not even try to contest these runes, which is a respectable decision. We'll see how well he does against this potentially annoying lane. Already we see the Bounty Hunter with the Ion Shell on him, but actually unable to find someone, so that is just some mana wasted, and this Darkseer does apparently have a lot of mana to waste with those free mangoes. Mordecai, unsurprisingly, being pushed under the tower here. Not that he minds that too much. He is a Lifestealer. We'll just watch him miss a couple of last hits, I suppose, but shouldn't be too disturbed. Mid lane, we have a, I guess, fairly classic matchup, although not we see too often these days. Which does leave us with a dual lane against a solo lane. I believe Doom should be able to find some levels and a tiny bit of farm. Probably just catch up using that Devour. Won't have the best of times. It's actually top lane. Level 1 Darkseer is a very big weakness without having that surge, and Lelouch actually opting to not help his buddy out at all, full health there. I believe this is one of those situations where if you have Iron Shells on both of you, you can actually try to duke it out. And even if you do not get a kill in return, you at least trade a lot of regen or damage. Now they have rotated this Vengeful Spirit in, and this Vengeful Spirit is going to catch out poor Bane, although wow, he actually planted a tree there, which kept him alive, although he might just... Oh, the blocks! Oh my god, Weebs are playing to the absolute maximum here, but it might just not be enough, although the Rage coming in. Diving under the tower now. Do they actually want to go for this? How is everyone still alive? That's actually kind of amazing for me. Although now with the creep wave under tower, a lot of damage coming out here onto the Lifestealer. It does have the Rage. And now Mordecai, he's got to be careful. Oh, the last... Oh my god. Weebs are actually playing so well right now. Although, I say that, one last right click. Gotta finish off Mordecai. Didn't expect that one coming. But up until that point, just pushing it to the absolute limit. Perhaps letting it go a little bit towards the end there. But everything, the block with the Iron Branch, the block with the Ice Shards, just about staying alive. That being said, it's really not a terrible situation if you're bottom either, although Hold That Foot's Slayer gonna get gone on here. Tag team is great at level 2. A very easy kill there. Feel like they could perhaps be applying a lot more pressure if they were all playing together, really making use of that Iron Shell on the Bounty Hunter. All this really means is that this Doom is gonna be able to get a lot more farm than expected. And it's very hard for an Ursa to really apply that much pressure. Bane gets stunned up here. A lot of damage, but there is the tag team. Blaze actually wanting to turn things around. Nice use of the sleep there, getting a lot of damage onto this Vengeful Spirit, who will get taken down, and Blaze, again, really pushing it to the limit, knowing that he can afford to take some damage while this Bounty Hunter is asleep, trades it for damage onto this Vengeful Spirit, and it really does seem like Weebs, you know, they know exactly what they're doing as far as the laning phase goes, and the communication must be great. Unfortunately for them, Sentry not actually able to take out the enemies, and they will end up losing a fresh ward for it. Not an ideal situation, and this does actually mean quite a lot, I want to say, in these early stages when you've got a tri-lane on tri-lane situation, especially with the 5-minute rune coming up. That would be a lot of useful information coming out from that ward. We'll see what they try to do. There is some detection on this Tusk. Will they choose to use it? Yes, they will. Now they're going to try and get onto Lelouch here, but... Oh no. Is this a dead Bounty Hunter? Might just be a dead Bounty Hunter. That was a very interesting sleep, actually. That was literally the only way they could have missed that kill, and a very well-deserved tip there. That was actually kind of sick the way it happened. So Doom, without the Vengeful Spirit in lane, is actually able to pretty much be at top of net worth right now. He is at the top of net worth as Mordecai. Taking a lot of damage under this tower, but without the Bane being there, it is a much harder fight. Ion Shell really doing a whole lot of work in these situations. No mana here for the Vengeful Spirit stun, but Tusk is fairly low on health too. Does still go forward. Will this actually be a bit of a mistake, Lelouch? With the Ion Shell? Actually, unfortunately for him, is underneath a sentry, so will die there. There was another sentry on this Tusk anyway. And I don't know, it just feels like the communication isn't quite there for POTM in the bottom. Just the little things, just like the Darkseer not going in, the Vengeful Spirit being surged away, but I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh here, but it just feels like that tiny bit is missing. And look at this. Mid lane. There's actually not going to be a kill from the meatball, and, well, there is detection because they are playing against a bounty hunter. That Fairy Fire just saving Blizzard's life there and allowing his team to get the return kill. Bounty Hunter did make the rotation bot and did put a lot of damage onto this Doom, but this is a Doom with a Soul Ring, and I mean, he just shrines up. Just gonna. I don't think he cares at all, is what I'm trying to say, and this is really not a great start for POTM in the bottom. I feel like they had a lot of potential with their dual lane combo, but just feels like this Bounty Hunter pick, first pick Bounty Hunter, mind you, has been somewhat lackluster. Now there is this sentry mid. It's unlikely that Lelouch will be able to get anything done here, really. Nice D-word by POTM, though, recognizing that there was a swing by earlier from the supports and that there likely was a ward there. See if they can actually turn it into anything. I just don't know if this is going to happen, really, and this is, again, coming at the cost of this Darkseer, who... I guess he's probably going to do fine, actually. Given that the Weebs supports are no longer constantly sitting in this lane. Rotation from POTM is coming back, surged up Bounty Hunter here, getting onto Mordecai, but he just turns around and fights. Sunstrike is good, though, and this could be enough to actually put them... I mean, again, this is sort of just the communication not being there that you can kind of feel. Looks like they will finally get this kill, but it's going to cost them. At the very least, it's going to cost them this Vengeful Spirit, if not more. Do they have detection? Looks like they do not, actually, and maybe they can turn things around. Ooh, bit close there. But this is sort of the thing that we're talking about, the instant reaction, the TP coming in from the Doom, knowing that this was happening, and on the other hand, you have the Sunstrike, which was nice, but then again, POTM weren't playing on the assumption that the Sunstrike would hit, otherwise they would have stayed closer in range. It's just the tiny little mismatches in communication is really costing them. And again, getting here onto the Invoker, a shackle shot means that there is literally no chance in hell for this Invoker. Now that was a smoke, so it's not like this Invoker was not paying attention, but I just can't emphasize how important communication is at these early stages. When you're not actively showing this much pressure, you know that there is a risk for these supports to be running around. Looks like they will find a kill here onto Blaze. He will definitely go down, but again, the communication being great, and they will find the return kill. As bottom lane, there's actually a bit of a trade there, but definitely in favor of Weebs. They take down the Ursa, trade it for a Tusk, and that's a trade you'll take any day of the week, and we might just be getting to the point where Doom is actually running out of control. Having that maxed out Infernal Blade is a very big deal. It does pretty much 3 times the DPS per second, assuming you can constantly cast it. That's in comparison to the level 3 top lane. Now that the supports have rotated out, they are applying more pressure, but it's a lifestealer. He's got the rage, he's got the infest, and he is perfectly fine. Now, there is something that we sort of haven't talked about this game, and that is the Invoker. And he's been having I guess a decent time minus the ganks, but I do feel like there comes a point when this Invoker comes online. Although actually, you know what? I take that back. He's going for Midas. He's not going to come online for a while, which means that it's going to be down to this Ursa to try and get stuff done. Speaking of Ursa, stunned under the tower is this Doom. Does have a stomp, and with a lot of movement speed, I believe will not... Okay, he's not able to get out. That was very close there. Just being inside swap range. Looks like he probably would have died anywhere with that Sunstrike, and that is a big kill. He is top of net worth. And a much needed kill for this Ursa, who does finally pick up that Morbid Mask, and having the regen will definitely help him stay in lane against the constant harass of the Infernal Blade. He did miss a kill onto the Bounty Hunter top, but I guess nothing too surprising there. It's pretty much whenever there's 2 supports of either team, stuff is going down. Again, the combo out here onto the Windrunner, but the response is good. Shackle Shot not actually going to land this time, so they won't be able to turn it around onto this Invoker just yet. Will Bane coming in actually be enough? I do not fancy his chances at taking this one. He will try, which is commendable. A commendable effort, but not much more than that. As bottom lane with the Doom, he is able to take out this Ursa. And the net worth is one story. Of course, Ursa not too far behind there. Probably actually up in CS. No, he's not even up in CS. But Doom, of course, has to Devour, so he is very, very happy. I feel like the main story, perhaps, is in the hero levels. And you have a level 10 Ursa compared to a level 11 Doom, and it's only going to get even worse from here. Lelouch goes in, tries to get the Janata steal, but I don't think that was worth it. That is 28 gold for your life. Definitely not worth it. Really, the problem for me here is I don't sort of see the one tilting point, or, well, tipping point, I guess, that would actually break this situation. Now, we have seen the potential of this play. There is no Doom, so they could potentially take down... and yeah, looks like they are able to do that with a Sunstrike. And this is the kind of thing that they need to do, but just looking at the levels, it's not looking great. You have a Bounty Hunter who at 14 minutes into the game is still not level 6. You really need that track gold to start coming back, and well, they do have some kill potential with this Vengeful Spirit especially, but other than that, there's really not too much in terms of hard control. As we were saying, Invoker, he did go for the Midas first, which is going to allow him to scale a little bit better, which I don't mind at all. It's sort of an insurance policy, but that also means he won't be too effective. We have seen him go for a couple of kills where it's just not enough. As we have another disconnect. Slayer-sama, onegai. こうしないで。なんでいつもはそう。 Alright. Vengeful Spirit reconnects to the game. Windrunner TP's bot. Technically, there would have been a chance for him to get out if he TPs fast enough, but as we can see, TP interrupted there. Now, will Lelouch give up his life? Or actually, no, Slayer will give up his life, and Suhuan will go down anyway. So that was pretty much the worst case scenario, as on the other side of the map, that is not supposed to be possible. There is no way a solo lifestealer gets killed on a Darkseer. That just does not happen. I'm a bit perplexed right now, but you know, I'm not gonna complain. There's no pulls right now. I have no right to complain at this point. Well, that absolute massacre that somehow happened out of nowhere does mean that Weebs will take this tier 1 tower, the first tier 1 tower of the game, as top lane, where two supports go, shit happens, and this is a kill that they could really use, actually. Now, here we go. Surged Ion Shell Darkseer, and, well, nowhere to run, really. Sunstrike hunts you, Track hunts you, and that is a very, very big kill. Nearly had enough gold for the relic there. Slowing down this lifestealer does mean quite a lot, and that was pretty much the one chance that POTM in the bottom had last game, and just the one or two times that the lifestealer ended up dying just put him so far behind the Juggernaut in comparison. And when you go for this kind of build, that's a huge power spike when you get that Radiance, and if you don't get that Radiance early enough, it really does a lot less. So I do like what POTM in the bottom are doing. They're recognizing that they need to do something, and they are doing it. And, you know, it's a whole lot better than just sitting back and allowing Weebs to dictate the pace. But this is exactly what they're doing now. Almost baiting in this Ursa, who does get doomed up, but not before he drops his ultimate, so barely taking any damage. Now the Invoker comes in, Meatball not doing all too much damage, and now Darkseer trying to surge away. Will end up having to use the surge on himself. I mean, this is not pretty. But they do find a kill in return, which is a track kill. So it does count for something, but I don't think we're going to find much more than this. And a very calculated move there by Weebs, only showing the Bane, hiding in the trees with everyone else. Shackle Shot not going to land. So they're not going to get a free kill here, but still, that is yet another tier 1 tower dead. Weebs playing it very smart. Very smart. This is pretty much the only way for them to play this game at this point. Just leave your lifestealer to farm, run around the map as 4. Now the one potential wrench in their cogs is this bounty hunter, who, generally speaking, is quite good against this kind of movement. We can see from being completely ineffectual before, 1 or 2 track kills, and he's actually doing decent in terms of net worth. Still has a little more work he could do on the levels, but you know, him being able to get into a good position, scout out the rotations, and potentially set up any counterplay is exactly what POTM in the bottom need. They just need a little more space, a little more time for this Invoker to get his axe, get online. So, yeah, this is sort of the equivalent of Murd movement. You smoke this 4, let the Invoker go for the farm, and actually, they're getting into Roshan here. They do it fairly fast with this medallion on the Ursa, of course, but the Ursa popping his ultimate very early on. That's actually not how the ability works. But they will be able to take this regardless. And I like how cautious they're being, actually. They're not even using the Vengeful Spirit Howl there. Wave of Terror, just making sure that Weebs do not know what's happening. And they will successfully take this Aegis. And this Aegis, at this stage of the game, I want to say does mean quite a lot. Just being able to almost do the same as what Weebs did last game with the Juggernaut. You have the Ion Shell, you have the track so he doesn't lose vision. This is pretty much a super carry Ursa and about to pick up a DD actually. It is interesting to note he's not gone for the Blink, actually going for the Skull Basher immediately after his first couple of items, so pretty much going to be relying entirely on Darkseer and his Surge. And I haven't really been in enough situations to judge on this particularly, where an Ursa relies entirely on Surge, but personally my gut instinct is I don't like this. That being said, picking up that Basher does mean that he can actually fight head-on against this Lifestealer, and we're hitting that point where the Lifestealer with his Radiance, having just completed that, is a very big threat in these fights. And actually, Lifestealer inside... Oh god, this is not pretty. That is bad, by the way, seeing as he... Did he manage it? Okay, he did actually have the Axe, which perhaps only makes it even worse, because they could fight right now. With this timing, you have the Aegis on Ursa. Now they're going to be fighting without their Invoker. Ursa taken out of the fight straight away. That is Aegis gone. He still has his ultimate, but this is kind of a bad place to be in if you're this Ursa, because you get doomed, you get gripped, and you die. And you get team wiped. And that is what happens when you try to fight at a very strange anti-timing where your Invoker dies just before he gets his axe. And I'm afraid this might actually become a repeat of the previous game. This was supposed to be the strongest point, and perhaps the only point where POTM in the bottom could have flipped back. Get the axe, get the Basher, you got the Aegis, and you just try and take a fight from there. That was their moment to come online, but I mean, you can call the Invoker pick off unfortunate, but the decision to go and fight 4 versus 5 was not unfortunate. It was foolish, perhaps, best case. And, well, POTM paid the price. Don't get me wrong, this is actually by no means over. It's only a 4,000 gold lead for Weebs, much less than it was at this point in the game. Actually, at this point in the game last game, the game was over. But now, they kind of hit their timing. They've got this Doom. He's sort of hit that point where he's virtually unkillable. I don't believe that this Invoker has enough damage to burst him down. And between the Heaven's Halberd, the innate evasion passive, this guy has got maybe... How much evasion is that? That is 40% evasion. Which means 40% less damage for this Ursa on him. Ursa surged forward, does not have the Blink Dagger, looks a bit silly running this long, but he has finally made his way, and made his ways into the Fiend's Grip. There is a Lotus Orb, but it didn't come out fast enough, but not too much follow-up damage means they won't be able to take out this Ursa, but there's no way they can fight without their Ursa. They're still going to try, though. Aghanim Scepter Invoker making his appearance. Does he have enough damage? Yes, he can take down this Tusk, but again, he is just dead. Time and time again, this Invoker just gets caught out of position. What can I say? It takes you the full duration of Surge, which is pretty ridiculously long, by the way. It's 6 seconds. It takes you 6 seconds to start an engagement from the moment your bounty hunter sees that person. If you have a Blink Dagger on the Ursa, you deal with the Lifestealer there and then. And what I was saying earlier about this game still being far from over, well, we are one step closer to it being over in favor of Weebs. I'm not sure that's something I want to see. Thankfully for them, thankfully for POTM, Roshan is dead. So, it's not Aegis or anything going to this lifestealer, which would certainly be a bit of an issue. But, I mean, the net worth tells the story, really. This Ursa is poorer than all 3 cores on Weebs' side, and the only person who was not in that state is this Invoker, and I'm not sure he can carry it all. As I was saying, he just doesn't do enough damage. I don't think there's any other way to put it. You're playing against the Doom, who I have no idea how you're gonna kill. You're playing against this Lifestealer, who is almost as tanky with that magic immunity, and Lifestealer has found a bounty hunter who was taken so low. Actually, the swap gets forced out. Vengeful Spirit will survive for now. Nice meatball. Almost taking out this Lifestealer, but he is actually saved, and will he go down? He just hides inside his Bane there. And, well, that is a team fight. Very unfortunate. Almost took down this Lifestealer, and this is one of those things where people say Dota is about a game of inches. If this Invoker wasn't just level 15, maybe that would have been enough damage. I don't know. There's no doubt that this Invoker is underleveled at this point in time for having a Midas. And if not for that, maybe a dead Lifestealer. Maybe a completely different team fight. But the matter of fact is that Weebs are now up 11k. Pretty much have all the core items that they would ever need. There's an AC flying out onto this Lifestealer. I don't feel like this Doom can get any stronger. He is virtually impenetrable in terms of physical damage. Surprisingly enough, I don't see him going for a pipe. There is going to be a Glimmer Cape on this Bane at some point in time, but even this Tusk is actually going for Solar Crest. In other words, not a pipe. Oh no. Well, Vengeful Spirit is fairly dead, and perhaps Bounty Hunter as well. Yeah, Bounty Hunter is dead as well. And this is, of course, thanks to some very aggressive vision placed down by the Dire beforehand, knowing that they could go for that. But, I mean, you know something's up when a team is playing against a Darkseer and an Invoker, and they do not feel the need to get a pipe. And that's sort of where we are at with this Radiant team right now. Darkseer got the Lotus Orb, and I do think this is a decent choice. But I'm not sure that's really going to win them the game. EMP comes out here as, Invoker just gets absolutely mauled. Will not go down just yet until the Snowball follows him through. Do they have enough damage to take him down? Perhaps not, actually. They're trying to turn it around. The swap is going to actually... Lightning! I feel so bad right now. This Invoker actually could have gotten out if not for that Chain Lightning proc, which bounced through like 4 people. And I believe we are now going through the final moments of Weebs. Yet again, taking a game off bottom in the bottom. Our Invoker is going to finally buy back after losing a lane of Rax in order to defend the mid, which certainly would have been the straw that broke the camel's back here. So still in the game, but down 18k, and that did come quite suddenly, actually. It was hovering at quite a steady lead until perhaps 10 minutes ago, but one bad team fight led to another, and all of a sudden you are facing... I actually don't know how how they're doing, the rest of the group. I feel like this... No. They've lost a game already. Against... I can't remember what the team is, but I believe that was a 2-0. And I believe this game will be as well, so not a great start here for POTM in the bottom. Roshan has respawned. I believe both teams are aware of this. It wasn't a particularly short timer. The question is, do you really want to try and contest this? Pings are coming out. Sunstrike will scout things out. But it doesn't look like they'll be able to get this in time, and Windrunner with the Aghanim Scepter fairly effective at taking this down. And here we go. How to kill a Lifestealer. It's got the Aegis. Hands the cheese off to... Is it the Tusk? It was the Tusk. They don't even consider the possibility of this Windrunner dying. And here we go, high ground push. Tower is practically dead. Will they try to defend Rax? I guess not. Now at some point they will have to defend. Invoker has TP'd back. How do you start a fight? Ideally, you get a vacuum into a tornado into a meatball, but kind of hard to set up, and that does somewhat go back to the draft, and I don't know really what the solution is here. There's no one punch wonder, nothing like a Magnus. All they can hope is for Weebs to make a mistake, or perhaps allow a pickoff or two to happen. This is potentially what we're looking at. If at this moment, POTM and the bottom were smoked up, they could perhaps take out these supports. While the cores are off farming, but it can sort of feel the fear, and rightfully so. It's just so hard for POTM to do anything right now. Invoker gonna be TPing back here. Picks up some mana. And the blink comes in. Very aggressive blink. Nice tornado, perfectly timed, however, but the Doom gets his Doom off regardless. Invoker taken out of the fight as Ursa slowly gets mauled to death as he is gripped. Instant buyback. We'll see whether or not that is actually enough. He will get disarmed the second he buys back, and perhaps will just go down. Does not have his ultimate any longer. Invoker, finally the Doom wears off. Can he actually do something now? Alacrity going to barely scratch this Doom as he's got a goddamn Heaven's Halberd, 20% invasion on top of that, as well as a Crimson Guard. EMP is perhaps the most productive thing. Actually, I take that back. It did absolutely nothing. Ursa blinking back in, Ion Shell and Surge onto him, but just put to sleep immediately. And well, that is Rax. Lifestealer chasing on through. Will he burn down? Yes, he will actually burn down this Invoker, and will that burn down any chances that Weebs had? No, sorry. Any chance that Weebs have of throwing this game? There we go. This is pretty over, and that is the GG call. And honestly, I still stick by my statement that, you know, game one was perhaps somewhat close. The Huskar does a little better. You know, Lifestealer doesn't die once or twice. Completely different game. And I feel like I can say the same about this game, except really it was that one decision for bottom to actually go for this. I don't know what you want to call it. It wasn't even a team fight, really. They're just running in one after another. In any case, Weebs take the game.